So I started working in insurance in the 80s, and at that time I regarded myself as heterosexual, a woman's fighting in a man's world. But then later on I had my first relationship with a woman, and then I started having more and more relationships with women, and I ended up in a long-term relationship for 12 years with a woman, and we got married. And when I did start having my relationships with women, I went into the closet about it. I did not come out, I was not out at work. And I went through quite a lot of hardship because of that. And looking back, I just think it was crazy. After about 7-8 years of being in this long-term relationship, I decided I'd had enough. And I came out at work. I was going for a new job, and I decided to be upfront with it and say, I'm in a lesbian relationship, I'm a lesbian. And guess what the response was? So what? I was really fearful of something, and it's extraordinary looking back to have been so closeted for so many years at work. I look back now and I thought, were there particular incidents that happened? What was it? And I just don't know. It was almost the fear of the unknown, the fear of just thinking, well, this could damage my career, and I didn't even talk to anybody about it. It's amazing. There were no role models, so I didn't feel there was anybody safe to talk to about it, and I just didn't reach out to anyone. Looking back now, I just can see how foolish I was, because nothing basically went wrong for me after I did it. But what happened when I wasn't out was, of course, I was hiding it, and that's bad. That eats away at you really inside. You start covering up for all sorts of things. You have different conversations with your colleagues at work. Your partner, for sure, is impacted in a bad way. When I was keeping it all secret, we didn't have mobile phones. We had old-fashioned phone lines that were answered when somebody phoned the office by a receptionist who then had to direct the call. I told my female partner that she wasn't allowed to phone me at work. I said, you can't phone me. I can't possibly let people know I have a female partner. And if you phone too often, they're going to suspect something. Absolutely mad. And that's how we lived our lives. Secret. And that has to have a detrimental impact on anyone at work when they have to be secretive about things. And it certainly impacted me. And when I came out, I suddenly felt freer. I felt so much happier, more content at work. And I'm sure that this can happen to everyone who does the same thing. Well, I think there are lots of things that can be done to make an inviting atmosphere within the workplace, and that will include things such as the policies that the employer might put in place. But it goes way beyond that. It's not just about policies; it's about a culture. And we are all seeking now to try and have a very inclusive culture, and it's so important that that is around and it's a safe environment. Employee resource groups help, where people like-minded who have similar issues can talk to each other, but importantly, things have discussions and dialogue with people who are not within their community. And where I've been working, and we've started allies programs, so we've got heterosexual people, straight people joining in the conversation, they're learning things, and it makes them feel much more comfortable about the language they can use. It enables them to see things from someone else's perspective, and it's just been refreshingly positive. In other words, people react really, really positively. They've reacted positively to being asked to be an ally, and of course they all have a friend, a relative, a son, a daughter, an aunt, whoever, who could be LGBT. They may have suspected someone is, and they haven't had the confidence to have that conversation with them. By opening up these conversations at work with them, you'd be amazed what it opens up in their lives. So it's actually a very fulfilling experience all round, and there's lots of things that we can do as the LGBT community. We can force that dialogue, because it may not be coming from the allies or the other people at work, but we can certainly force it. And if we all do it together, we all have a duty to do it. We can really make the world very different. I think there is something to be said for very authentic leadership. So if you are part of the LGBTQ community and you definitely feel part of it, of course you can talk with a certain authenticity that if you're not, you can't. However, If you're a leader who isn't part of that community, there is absolutely nothing to stop you being a role model. Get out there, talk about it, understand it, just use the words that you may not have felt comfortable about using last year or last month or last week. Use words like gay, use words like bisexual, lesbian, use them in your everyday language. And that will make people think, gosh, this person gets it, they're comfortable using the language, wow, they really are a role model, even though they might be considered an ally. You can do it, you can really make a difference. I just think it's so important to talk about these experiences because I can say, hand on heart, that since I came out, it has not negatively impacted me to my knowledge. And I would just encourage everybody who's going through any difficulty of deciding whether to be in or out at work, just do it. Get out there, be honest, be open, because you'll find the reaction is, so what?
So what?
So what?
So what?